everybody. Right, today's project. We're making a little coaster. There we go. So a two-sided one with the windmill knot. And we are using, there we go, our trusted paper. Okay. And in this instance, for this color combination, we are using black and yellow, obviously. So this is the Kamihimo Craft Paper that you can get on our website. As far as we know, in New Zealand, we're the only ones stocking it at the moment. So you find it on www.flaxworks.co.nz. There is 15 meters of this in 15 meters of the paper in each pack. And actually it comes with instructions of how to make the basket on the front, if you so inclined. And then we're using only 45 centimeters of it. So I actually used some leftovers from a different project for this. And then we're splitting them into widths of 3 wide. So hang on, where do I have, there we go. So if you've watched one of our earlier tutorials with this before, so you know what this looks like. So this is the paper in its normal full width. And if you can see it, it has individual little paper bands that are glued together. So this is 12 altogether. I think it's about, I don't actually know what the width is, I think 12 mil as well. And so we're only needing 3. So when we're talking about the width of the paper strands being, 12 or 9 or 8, this is what we're talking about, the individual strands of the paper. In this case, we are using 3. So if you lay this across it, so you can see, the width of it. So we're getting 4 of these out of that width. And we're needing 8 of the yellow and 10 of the black for this. If you want to reverse the black on the outside and the yellow on the inside, it's the other way around, or whatever color combo you're using. So there's that. And we split them, and I have a little tool. I'll show you how to see. I have a little tool. It looks like this. It's a paper clip, and I just put some tape around it. And then I use this end here. Hang on, I get a little piece of leftover to show you. Here we go, from a pink basket yesterday. So what we do is we count the numbers. I'll take these underneath so you don't get confused, right? Zoom in a little bit. In. So we count how many we need. So in this case we're wanting 3. So I've got 1, 2, 3, and there I make with a really nice fine pair of scissors. I make a little cut, right, like so. And then the easiest thing I find, I mean, there are people who are using credit cards to split this and things, but this stuff is surprisingly tough. I actually wrecked one of my credit cards with it, so don't do that. So the paper clip works a treat, and you just hook it in like that. Oops, come on, there we go, like so. Hold on to the top ends and just pull, and that's how you get a smaller width in whichever way you want it. All right, so we're using that. And that's pretty much all we need for this. If you have, well, I will show it, but ideally you would have made something else with the windmill knot before, so it's easier for you to, work your way around it. I'm not sure by the time I upload this if we have uploaded that one already, so we'll, but I'll just mention it. We've made a little basket with the windmill knot as well. That's already up and running. So if you want to have a look at that, maybe have a look at this. So it would be easier if you were to make one of those things with the normal windmill knot first before you come to this. But it is still possible. I mean, it's a cute little, you know, thing to do. And I think let's dive right into it. You know all your windmill knot, don't you? So you're using one strip, half it. Okay. Hang on, I'll take these out of the way so you don't get confused. Sorry. So one strip, half it. Make a nice little kink at the top, like so. And then we use a second one and half it as well. And it is easier to see if you look at one of our other older videos where we show the windmill knot with a wider width. It makes more sense there. Okay. So then you put one half over the other, like so. I might zoom in a little bit so it's easier to see because they're that tiny. Right, can you see that? And then the one from underneath comes up, right, just folds down, and then that end goes through the loop. There you go, through the loop. And there is your first little windmill. So, and when you turn it over, let's zoom in again. Okay, when you turn it over, that's what it looks like. So the front looks like this, and the back looks like this. And we leave it on the back at the moment. And now we're grabbing different color and do the same thing. Half it. Or you can also match it to the bottom if you don't want to half it. So you can lay it on here. So like this. And see, half would be a little bit too much actually. So make the kink. Yeah, okay. And now we're making another knot right next to the reverse one that we already made, like on the other side of it. There you go. Behind. And it goes. Fish it out from underneath and pop it through. Very easy. Well, very easy if you've made a lot of windmill knots before. So maybe before you start this, make a couple of those. Maybe make something else. Right. And that way we have them right next to each other. You see that? There you go. I'll show you what it looks like if it's not next to each other, which is basically, you know, I'm taking back our little, sorry. Our heart basket, so that would be the inside and that the outside. And if you have them if you have them all the same direction, you have these little square holes in them, which is typical for the windmill knot. Right, so you get these holes. Now for this one we do not want the holes, so that's why we're putting them next. So what we're doing next is we turn this whole thing around and grab another one of the other color, match it out to the bottom. Oops, sorry. Here we go. Make sure that they're roughly the same. Give it a kink. Pop it over. There you go. Same thing. Parallel to the original, pull the black back. And through the loop and out the other side, and then nicely tighten and straighten it a little bit so that we have them right next to each other. And we continue with this. So we sort of turn them over periodically, you know, so back, front, back, front, back, front, until we have 5 of these black knots and 4 of the yellow ones. So we're adding on 2 black on either side here, then 2 yellow, and then another 2 black. I hope that makes sense. I'm always on this line. Rightio. So this is what it looks like now. So we got them all nicely lined up. Black, yellow, black, yellow, black, yellow, black, yellow, black. And now, so we started with the black in both directions, right? So now we're adding in a yellow on the top and on the bottom. And to do that, we need to match the length on that side. There we go. And oops, sorry, almost made my own mistake. So the black is the reverse. We still continue with the, you know, front, back, as it were. So then, there we go. A bit fiddly this. So the short one is at the top, right? And do the same knot as before. The first one is sort of this, it's really the same. Okay, so you pull that one through and pull in both directions so it's nice and tight. Might want to pull in that direction too, just to get it off it. Then you turn it over. Classic. I forgot to turn the camera on, or rather it turned itself off. So we've done the first knot, turned it around, and now we need to make a normal knot essentially at the other end, which is sort of back to front, and that gets a lot of people not as easy. But basically what we're doing is we're making another knot. So this one, the top one, goes over that one, and then we fold it back like we would normally do with a normal knot, right? And then we also make the little loop, which we would always do, right? So we've got our little, I got a little helper, little loop here. And then that end needs to come, and I zoom in a little bit, that end here needs to come through there. Hard to see, I know, through there. So, and sometimes you might have to manipulate it a little bit and let it loose, just to make it easier. I've made this before, and then I realized the camera wasn't working, so it's a bit soft now. There we go. So now I just need to get it back into alignment and make it nice and tight. And then pull this, pull, right, there you go, and through the loop. And pull, squash it a little bit and pull that end, and that way, there you go, you get your, you know, there we go. So turn it over again. Next normal knot, yeah. Nice and tight, and at that width you might want to make this with a smaller width at some stage, but at that width it's really tricky to get. There we go. Pull, pull through there, and I normally make this sort of thing in my lap, and it's easier to hold. There we go, third knot. Zoom in. So you get the idea. So this is where we started. and then we turned it around, so this is actually the underside, and then we added these two, then we turned it around again, added these two, turned it around again, and then these. And so this is the second row, and then we do the same thing what we do here, you know, turning, 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 turning on that side as well. And then we do this another 2 times. So that way we having, you know, like sort of 4 complete yellow knots, as it were, horizontal and vertical. I'll meet you in a couple of minutes when I've done a couple of rows. Right, unfortunately the camera turned off again, so it looks a bit like a bird's nest because I already started tucking in the ends of these. So all you need to do is really, where you have those diagonal, on the front you can see it better, when you have the diagonal pointing, that's where you pull these ones in, but make sure you don't pull them all the way through, because then you actually do pull them all the way through. Right, so I've got a couple here, and all you need to do is, sometimes it's a little fiddly, you just tuck it in there, there you go, and pull, 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 pull. Keep an eye on that you don't pull it all the way through, and then stop at the corner. Zoom in a little bit. There you go, so this end goes through there. There we go. There, stop there. And then at the corners we have 2, and they both need to go through the same, and so that's a little bit trickier, and I might need a little kind of opening up with the pliers just to make a little bit more room. Come on, there we go. Unfortunate color, this black, isn't it? Black on black is hard to see. There we go. Pull, 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 pull. Don't pull all the way through. And then this one in the same fashion. There we go. There we go. Now, those corners are a bit bulkier, so it does pay to use the pliers, probably wider pliers would do rather than these fine ones, to kind of flatten it a little bit. Right. Zoom out again. So the next thing you do is cut these off. These ends. And then we'll shape it to make sure it actually sits nice and flat and looks square-ish kind of thing. So you cut these off right where they come out, so they're basically hiding how they were made, so to speak. There you go. Rightio, so I cut the ends off and I sprayed it a little bit with water, because then when you spray it with water, this paper, you can still shape it and it becomes really solid. So when, you know, like when I make these, it's unbelievable, it's really paper. And that's because it's been sprayed with water and then it dries again and then it dries really solid. It actually helps this along. Now, if I look at it like this, it does lay a bit flat, but this corner here needs a little bit more flattening out. There we go. And there you have it. A nice little cute, you know, coaster. And that can be made with harakeke as well. or any sort of leafy material really. If you have any shortish kind of things, you know, harakeke sort of 50 centimeters, I'd say, it will lay differently and it will work differently. But you know, if you sort of turn it over so you have the different looks, as it were, I kind of love it. Anyway, happy weaving, everybody.